Welcome to the second session on the briefing. And first of all, thank you for your time and also the interest in the CII Award for Customer Obsession, powered by Microsoft. In this session, we will quickly go through the background behind the award, the reason behind looking customer obsession as one of the area for recognition. We will also look at the structure of the award program, different levels of recognitions and the assessment process. Finally, we will look into the framework which is used for assessing the maturity of practices and performance. So we have a framework which is CII framework for managing customer experience, which will be used as the base for assessment and scoring. So we will deal with all the three, and at the end we will also take up some time for having your queries answered. You can use, as and when you have a query, you can use the question option. You can type your queries. We will take it up either at the end, or if there is an appropriate time where we can elaborate, we will take it up at that time. Session normal, okay, what we are scheduling is around 1 hour. We will elaborate from our side what is the model, what is the award program, what is the framework and the assessment process, and maybe some 15-20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes we will spend on any specific areas of interest which you feel it is to be answered better, and any other queries connected with the award program. So with that, we will once again welcome you all for the program. We do congratulate first for being the ambassadors for the customer and customer experience. To begin with, we will quickly look at what is customer experience is all about. Customer experience is an outcome of the interaction or interface between a customer and an organization. Organization includes multiple individuals within the organization, functions which they are handling, and also the upstream and downstream value chain as connected in the process as per the business model. So it's not necessary that it is only decided or based on the experience within the boundaries of the organization. Beyond the boundary of the organization, both upstream, that means your supply chain for the inbound if the customer is involved for the timely delivery, and also the extended supply chain outside your boundaries where you are ensuring that the service or product is reaching to the customer, available to the customer, and the necessary services are being extended as required, as expected by the customer. In a nutshell, it can be, the experience can be not necessarily only the physical. It can be emotional based on the interaction, the observation and the opinion the customer is going to have, as well as rational, based on what the logic which they are built in, what is the expected behavior in such situations, what is the normally accepted norms in such scenarios, and also the experience with respect to your product directly. So how do we do this? How do we look at the customer experience or customer obsession in a broad sense? This slide explains the 3 stages of customer interface or the customer culture which an organization demonstrates. The bottom of the pyramid, which is customer engagement, which is normally the starting point of an organization where they demonstrate a lot of importance, lot of activities to the customer. In reality, there is a stage before even the customer engagement. The customer engagement is, in ideal situation, it is the second phase. The first phase is basically a transaction based engagement. Just you have a service, there is a requirement by a customer, you are someone is providing, someone is receiving, and there is nothing beyond that particular specific transaction or that specific experience. From there, over a period of time, the organization builds an engagement mechanism. Thereby, they have some process to understand who are all your regular customers, what's their requirement, what's their anticipated needs, and also to understand who are all your potential customers, and thereby creating a platform of engagement with both existing as well as the potential. Once that particular area the organization practices for some time with support of the effective processes, which is seen at the right hand side as one of the ingredients. It is only possible if you have supporting customer focused practices. Over a period of time, these customer focused practices will create a culture in the organization, which is, you can see in the left hand side, that determines, these two together determines the degree of maturity of the organization towards customer and customer engagement. Over a period of time, this engagement become a habit, a culture. Then practices will become more and more matured. Culture is very visible. At that stage, the customer is more demonstrating the customer centricity in all their actions and activities. So no longer only an engagement is important to the organization, but for the engagement, for the activities, for the product, for the service, the central point is customer and customer requirement, customer need. The organization at that stage more demonstrates the customer centricity. From there, the organization after some time practices the culture and those supporting procedures, systems, and the required practices, which is benchmarked at different levels, can be seen at different levels. This will become more as an obsession to the organization. That means anything towards customer, anything for the customer. The organization is more than a transaction, more than a process, more than a system. It becomes an obsession, and that drives the organization in their journey further. So the engagement to centricity to obsession is the journey, and the journey is supported through the customer focused practices and customer focused culture. Practices will definitely lead to better results, and the culture will also lead to a better result in terms of the engagement with the customer, centricity with the customer, and obsession with the customer. So this is the base for the entire program. How an organization becoming from a transaction-based organization to engagement-based, engagement to centricity, centricity to obsession, through adapting adequate, contemporary, innovative practices. That practices over a period of time helping the organization to become part of their routine and habit, thereby this is becoming a culture. So the entire program of customer obsession management, these criteria as well as the award program is looking at how an organization is moving from a transaction based organization to customer obsession based organization. Since it's a journey, so it's only a maturity assessment, and there are criteria defined for each stage in terms of the different elements of customer experience management through the framework, and that will be assessed through various aspects, including interactions wherever there is a site visit involved, and that will be converted into a score based on the maturity scoring process, which is finally converted into a score on a 500-point scale. So this is the base, and from the base we are now looking at the details of the models. The subsequent slides will elaborate the details of the assessment program, award program, as well as the framework. So the purpose of this particular the recognition program, primarily if you look at it, is to recognize customer centric or customer obsessed organizations where customer is the central theme for all what they do, and also to understand may help various organizations, various industries to understand various requirements, various elements, various criteria, various practices which is critical in delivering customer experience across the value chain, not only within the boundaries of the organization. So this is the framework which is the primarily developed based on various customer related criteria requirements from the internationally recognized model of Baldrige framework for performance excellence. And couple of points or couple of requirements might have been added based on the 22 plus years of experience of CII Exim Bank award assessment using EFQM model. Per se, both models are same, the requirements are same, so while some of the articulation may be different, so the entire criteria is based on the specific requirements explicitly and implicitly covered through these world recognized excellence models. One is Baldrige, another one is EFQM, and primarily the requirements are taken from scoring system is taken from the Baldrige. Scoring system is directly taken from the Baldrige. The concepts are taken from there. Criteria predominantly are based off Baldrige. So broadly the objectives are recognition, and while the recognition is one of the objective, the other equally important objectives are the entire organization to understand what are the requirements of building an organization which is progressing from a transaction based to an obsession based assessment in the organization, and how do we promote across the organization a culture of customer first. How do we promote the customer centric value not only within the organization but applicable across the value chain, and how do you ensure that the CII excellence framework for managing customer experience is adapted so that the organization can use that as a framework for assessing the progress and thereby implementing some of the new practices to ensure that their journey is continuous and fruitful. What an organization can expect by participating and why should they participate? Some of those critical points or important points are, one is it is a peer-based assessment, and also you will be able to, since it is an internationally recognized, some of the requirements at least based off internationally recognized model, so you will be able to benchmark to some extent your practices and the performance. And the entire organization can be seen as aligned to the value chain to ensure that the customer value is delivered rather than working in silos. And it is a peer assessment, comprehensive assessment, and the methodology is well defined, so you will get a well detailed feedback during the interaction as well as at the end of the program. And you are getting recognized for the commitment and achievement towards customer obsession, and that will improve your brand experience. Broadly, there are 3 levels of recognition. The highest one is called the award for customer obsession. The next level, just below one shade below the award, is called recognition for customer centricity, and a shade below of the customer centricity is recognized for active customer engagement. So these are all 3 levels which an organization can get recognized for, all based on certain score. And if an organization who score below the specific score, then they may not get any recognition, but those organizations who are within the band of the specific recognition, they may get the recognition accordingly. So there are 3 levels of recognition. One is the award, recognition for centricity, and recognition for active customer engagement. And in addition to this, since we are now a lot of digitization is going on, We are also have one additional the recognition, which is primarily focusing on how the organization is leveraging digital transformation as a driver to deliver superior customer experience. Different industries, this will be at different stages, so it will be definitely seen as an industry context, primarily looking at whether the organizations are able to leverage the digital development, the technology advancements in the, especially in the IT area, whether they're able to deliver a better value using or adapting or embarking on that. So this is in addition to this. So along with the application, whoever wishes to apply for this, they can prepare a 1-page or a 2-page note how the organization is leveraging digital transformation, and based on that, when the on-site assessment is there, certainly there will be a lot of interactions, but otherwise, based on the document, the practices will be assessed. So in general, what the explanation we are given for the different levels on the active engagement, customer centricity, and the customer obsession, the explanation, just we are trying to give an explanation, how do we categorize, how do we characterize an organization. At the early stage, the organization focus on building the engagement process. That definitely add value to the customer. There is absolutely no doubt on that. And through the engagement platform, they will look at how do we understand and anticipate various needs of the opportunities, needs and opportunities of business. There will be some programs, process for ensuring that the key customers are engaged on a regular basis. It could be, you may call it as key account management or named accounts or critical accounts, priority accounts, whatever it is, there will be some mechanism by which they will ensure there is an engagement process. At the second level, engagement to the centricity, the practices are institutionalized, and now they are looking at how do we build as a culture. So first level it is more of practice, second level it is practice plus culture, which is practice delivering superior results and also supporting creating a culture. And the third stage, once you have practicing this processes, what is aimed for customer centricity and culture is built within the organization, you are now becoming a true organization which is obsessed with the customer. So these are the 3 stages we normally look at during the journey. To give a brief on the different levels to be achieved in the scoring process, the assessment process to be eligible for the recognitions. On a 500-point scale, if you are above 300, you are eligible to context for, you are a contender for the award. So your award is decided based on certain other criteria, which is listed in the right hand side as a note. But if you are above 300, you will be recognized as an organization for customer centricity, and if you are eligible to be declared as a customer obsession award winner based on meeting that certain requirements which is listed, then you will be awarded at the highest level. So above 300, at least the recognition for customer centricity is guaranteed. From those who are scoring above 300, depending upon the organization meeting the criteria, and like the organization is the have a lot of role model practices which the industry can, or the entire world can emulate. And out of the 7 total categories, in the at least on 4 categories they are at the highest level, and in a specific criteria which is addressing the customer engagement, relationship and experience processes and the result, they are at the highest scored organization. And all the areas, the 7 category requirements, they have scored more than 50%. So these are all the requirements to be awarded as a Customer Obsession Award winner. But if you are not meeting any of this, you will not be a contender, you will be declared as customer centricity recognition level. Between 200 and 299, your recognition will be, you are recognized for active customer engagement. So 200 to 298, active customer engagement. 300 points above, customer centricity, and depending upon meeting those specific criteria, they will become contenders for the award, and the jury will decide based on certain criteria which is derived out of it. Jury will decide the appropriate eligible organization to be declared as the award winner. So this is about the 3 levels of recognition and the score and the judgment process. In addition to this, as I said, there is one more award which is customer, the organizations who are all delivering superior results through the technology platform. They are leveraging the digital transformation as a key theme. There will be a special recognition for those organizations demonstrating that at a higher level. Coming to the categories and sectors, we have 2 categories. One is under large and small, large and operating units, and the other one is called small and medium business. Normally, the categorization is based on the revenue. Above 100 crore annual turnover of the previously concluded financial year, whether you are following the calendar year or we are following the Indian financial year, whatever you are following as per your guideline, the previous closed financial number decides this, whether you are at the large organizations or you are at a small and medium business organization. And under the large and large organization, there can be one more category which is called operating unit. That means you are a part of a large corporate, but you are operating as an independent SBU or a strategic business unit or an operating unit, which demonstrates all the requirements to be met for the assessment and the criteria to be assessed. Then you are also eligible to apply. So that means the units of the large corporates also can be applied individually as a unit or collectively as a unit. Collectively as a corporate they can apply, or individually as a unit they can apply, provided they are able to demonstrate all the requirements as spelled in the framework. 2 sectors, one is manufacturing and services. So that means there will be totally 2 winners, 2 award winners at the normal scenario. There will be 2 award winners in the manufacturing stream, one for large and operating units, another one for small and medium business. Similarly, there will be another 2 award winners which is potentially can be there. One is for the large and medium business organization in the service sector, and the other one is the small and medium business organization under service sector. So totally, if you look at as a program, if there are eligible candidates, there will be 4 winners with the different categories. And also, if there are eligible candidates, jury can decide if there is a merit to give more than one. So it's a jury's decision. Jury's decision is final in this regard. And the eligibility criteria, all organizations operating in India, registered and operating in India, irrespective of their customer footprint. That means your organization is registered and operating from India, but your client base is outside, you can apply. Client base is inside, you can apply. Client base is both import, the domestic and the export, again you can apply. So, but in all cases, if you're operating from India, registered entity in India, you are eligible and you can apply for it. And you have to be in the business at least for 3 years, where you will have the ability to demonstrate all the requirements with respect to the practices, its maturity, and the various results. Sales revenue is based on the recently concluded financial year, as we explained. Operating unit can be applied if you are operating as a separate strategic business unit, independent unit, you can apply. And operating unit will be considered under a large category irrespective of the turnover. Suppose if an operating unit, independent unit, your turnover is less than 100 crore. However, since you are part of an organization, large organization, you will be still competing in the large and operating unit category, not under small. So the small and medium business organization, those organizations who are the total turnover is less than 100 crore. Any organization who's more than 100 crore, they will be under large. And those organizations who is part of a large corporate and operating as an independent unit, still the revenue is less than 100. In such scenarios, they will be competing in the large and operating unit and not in the SMB. Coming to the process, the sequence, if you look at, award will be announced, which is, then there is an eligibility form which is seeking some basic information about the organization, including the establishment, then the services, the client base, and some of the important information. If you meet all the eligibility criteria, then you will be able to participate in the program. And if you are not, then it will be communicated back to the applicant. Once you are eligible, then you have to submit the application form along with the prescribed fee. And post submission of the application form, you have to submit a self-evaluation report, which is self-assessment report, covering the various aspects of the criteria requirement, category requirements, subcategory requirements as specified in the CII framework for managing customer experience. This is a 20-page document which we will discuss in the subsequent slide about the self-assessment report. Once the self-assessment report is submitted as per the deadline, this will go through a screening process which is called a macro assessment to decide whether these organizations are eligible for an on-site assessment. On-site assessment this year, the cutoff score is decided as 275 and above. So that means any organization during the macro screening assessment, which is done by the experts, if your score is 275 and above, you are eligible for an on-site assessment. But if you are below, the assessment will be completely done based on the document and the information provided, and the recognition also will be based on that. So it's quite possible that below 270, even though you are below 275, you are getting the first level recognition for the active engagement based on the practices. And in few cases, if you are not able to represent in the details in the required way, and the practices are yet to mature, then it's quite possible that either may not be, if the score is below 200, there is no recognition. But in the other way, if you are above 275 in the macro assessment, during the on-site assessment, it is possible that you may be almost at the same stage, or the outcome will be that you are crossing, improving the score, and some organization may score more than 300. So the 275 is the one which you are looking at for the organization for going through the on-site assessment. From our experience in the various award programs, it is seen that some 20-25 point difference can be there between the document and the actual practices, what the maturity is seen, normally on the positive side. So those organizations scoring at around 275, it's possible that in the on-site assessment there are a lot of practices which they are able to demonstrate, thereby the score is more than 300, or in few cases if they are not able to demonstrate, then the score will be either remain 275 below or maybe between 275 and 300. So the final recognition is purely decided based on what is the outcome of the on-site assessment in cases where the on-site assessment is there, and document-based assessment outcome if the organization is not eligible for on-site assessment. So on-site assessment is not there, doesn't mean that okay, recognition levels are not there, we still will be eligible for recognition. And once you are eligible, definitely we will communicate along with the some details, and then you will form the assessment team. If you are not eligible, you will communicate that you are not eligible for on-site assessment, and subsequently you will get a detailed assessment report at the end of the assessment program, that is immediately after the award announcement and the program. So that means in this year you can expect that okay, since the award program is in the third week of February, so by last week of February you will be getting the detailed feedback which is based on the document assessment. Or those who are organization who has got on-site assessment, they will get the feedback based on the on-site assessment. So this is the process of feedback. Typically there will be 2 assessors for the large organizations, or 2 or 3, it can be even 3 in rare cases, and it can be for 1 or 2 days, or at some cases it can be 3 days. All will be decided while we are announcing the assessment team. So it's not that it is decided later, but when after seeing the scope and after seeing the complexity of the organization, number of locations to be covered, number of the geographies to be covered, the spread, the number of people and number of days will be decided. But in any case, it cannot be more than 3 days, and then it cannot be more than 4 assessors. So that's the thing. And during the assessment process, they will provide you a schedule, what the assessment team wanted to look at in the organization during interactions, and typically it will be starting with a opening discussion and a presentation by the leadership team, in the leadership team, I mean it is including CEO and all the customer facing functions and customer impacting functions. Meaning, while the HR may not be directly interfacing with the customer, but HR actions, the practices impact the customer delivery. So typically the HODs, the leadership team of the organization, maybe for around 1 hour, around 35 minutes or 40 minutes, the organization makes a presentation specifically focusing on certain areas like customer service, the products, the geographies, challenges, their USPs, the marketing practices, product development practices, which are important to the assessment process and not covered in the document. And post that, there will be interaction with the various functions, customer interfacing directly, for example, the development team, execution team, operation team. If you have a supply chain team. If you have a service function team. But if you are in the IMC session, then IMC. If dealer, distributor, upstream and downstream, other channels. So there will be interaction with various functions within and beyond the boundaries of the organization, which will be decided mutually as scheduled much before the on-site assessment visit. And also there will be interaction with various customers depending upon the customer profile, customer location. Some can be physical, some will be used through technology. It could be either telepresence or it can be a telecon. So there will be certainly interaction with the customers. There will be certainly interaction with the various functions, including your dealers, distributors, depending upon the business model that will be decided. Once the assessment is done, and at the end of the assessment, the on-site assessment, they will give you a quick feedback indicating the high-level observations of both strength as an organization demonstrated and also some areas where the assessment team feels that okay, they can focus as an improvement area. It's only a first level observation, and based on that the assessment team will prepare a detailed report and they will do a scoring based on certain guidelines, and that will be submitted to CII, and based on this the recognition levels are submitted to the jury, and jury decides definitely the various eligible the candidates, the different levels of recognitions, and finally the feedback report in detail, which will be provided at the end of the program. That is immediately after the award announcement, there will be a report which is normally given, and under each criteria there will be some areas where if the assessment team will narrate which they feel is important for the organization to sustain because it is seen as a strength based on the context, and there are areas where they feel it is important to focus on and improve upon. And this is the assessment program, this assessment process, and it is all contextual. So assessment will be done for a manufacturing industry, keeping that manufacturing industry context, a service industry with the service industry context. Within manufacturing and service, various sectors will be decided, will be seen based on the context and the current level of maturity of those industries are demonstrating. So it's not that okay, even a digital leveraging digital technology as one of the criteria which is there. When we evaluate, the evaluation will be different for an online merchandise, like the lot of the online teams are there today, and a typical traditional organization where they reach to the customer through the dealers and distribution channel. It's depending upon the context and depending upon the product. The team size and the team number of days will be communicated during the assessment team formation announcement, and the entire assessment the 2 days or 3 days, the applicant organization has to organize for their logistics and stay, and the details will be shared later. So coming to the self-assessment report, which is one of the key elements. This is a report which is describing the organization and its practices along with the outcome measures. So there will be an organization profile describing briefly about the organization, its vision, values, products or services, which market you are operating, which segment you are operating, key customer profiles, business share, market position, strategic advantage, challenges, core competency, value proposition, USP, all these in a very summarized way. You will present around 2.5 to 3 pages. So 3 pages is the limit which you have kept to elaborate this process. Followed by a narration of the practices of the criteria, which is categories. 6 categories are there in the process and 1 category is there in the result. So what is the, against each of those areas, what is the practice the organization is following, what is the result the organization is achieving, both will be narrated in the process. And this entire narration of 1 to 7 categories with including the subcategories is limited to 17 pages. That means the entire report is limited to 20 pages, and in addition to that you can have the cover page, index page, and some of the abbreviation used you can give us an annexure. But there is nothing beyond that. It can be nothing, no annexure is possible, because we are looking at the summarizing the information which is more important to the organization, and that is why we are restricting the number of pages. And this will also help you, the organization, when you are preparing the report, to understand what is important, what is not so important. So one level of screening, one level of filtering will always happen at the organization level, and thereby the information you are presenting will be normally of higher importance to the organization, and hence assessment based on those observations will have much more closer to the maturity level observations, and the maturity score will be reflecting much more closer to what the reality is. And there are 3 copies to be submitted to the CII Awards Secretariat, print copies. You can use back to back, and there are some the page formatting like font size 11 Arial font and page margin, all those things are given in the brochure, so please follow that. 3 identical copies to be submitted to CII, which is used for the assessment. At this stage, in this year, we are not asking for a soft copy, but however you can prepare the soft copy, and wherever you are ready and you can share at that time based on your comfort level, you can provide that. But we are seeking 3 print copies, and all assessors who are part of the program, who are going to assess your organization, prior to the assessment, the announcement of the team, we will seek conflict of interest from the organization, and once there is no conflict, then we will proceed. If there is a conflict, we will not include that member into the team. And all assessors are bound by the guidelines and confidentiality agreements signed as part of this program. So Whatever information you are sharing, it's confidential only for the purpose of this award program. And neither CII nor the assessors will be sharing this information to the public or anywhere without any written permission from the respective organization. To summarize, before getting into the criteria, to summarize the process, there is announcement, there is a self-assessment report you need to submit once you are eligible for applying, and on-site assessment is there for 1 or 2 days. It can maximum go to 3 days. The team size will be decided based on the scope of assessment and will be communicated during the announcement of the assessment team. And on-site assessment, after completing, they will provide the report, and based on the report it will be submitted to the jury, and jury decides various recognitions, and announcement of that recognitions will be there during the program, which is scheduled this year in February. And on-site assessment, what is important point we need to note is on-site assessment is based on the screening process, screening assessment, where you score on a 500-point scale more than 275. There are 2 sectors, manufacturing and service, and categories, one large and its operating units, another one is small and medium business. So the assessment starts this year. Now I am sure that you would have submitted the application too after getting the eligibility details. Now, 15th of November, you are supposed to submit the report, and the screening will happen by end of November, and the assessment will be between December and early January. You can see that the assessment will happen. That's all about the award program, and quickly I will give you some insight about the framework, but more of the information you may have to go through once you obtain the framework. And also there are different training programs. One of the training programs which we are having in 11th and 12th of this month is to prepare people for assessment, and that will cover the various aspects of the model, criteria requirement, assessment process, and the application process. So those of you who are planning to apply for this, please make use of this opportunity that 11th and 12th of November in Bangalore. We had a program in Delhi last month, so now the second program we are having in Bangalore. Please do attend, and this is a 2-day program where we will deal with the model, criteria, assessment program, assessment methods, and scoring process, as well as some of the requirements when we are as an assessee, when you as an applicant, how do you prepare the report. So it will be helpful for both as an assessee role as well as an assessor role. So coming to the framework, which is CII IQ framework for managing customer experience. The reason, if you look at some of the points, which certainly some of the obvious points, not only now, it is anytime it is important for the business that okay, the customer is definitely the influential parameter. Especially today when the information is on the fingertip, any individual, any customer, anyone can look at the information and decide. The choices are plenty, and the information is available in his fingertip, so that is definitely an influencing factor in his decision making. So beyond what is there in the specifications or the product, some of the things are the brand, which or the experience, again, which are today, if you look at, there are reviews, whether it is some of the reviews, how much is the integrity of those reviews, but however there are reviews and people are looking at all these information before deciding whether to go for or not. So the customer experience, managing that, it is very important, because to create a brand experience which is consistent across is important, and thereby through the experience of what they gone through, the customer will come back to you and give more business. It will add to your bottom line as well as top line. It will also help you to improve your product offering, because you know the customer, what the customer wants, and it is also help you to improve the customer satisfaction and loyalty, and to some extent it improves the marketing effectiveness, because your products are known to the market and the customer is aware about it. Your branding exercise is targeted to the right customers, and you are choosing the right process to reach out to the customer, be it a physical product or be it the branding exercise, being the sales promotion process. So you are looking at customer as the central point, then deciding, thereby the effectiveness will be much, much higher. And how do you relate customer experience and customer satisfaction? Customer experience is the one which you are providing when an organization doing a transaction or doing a product, giving a product or a service. So from the experience, there is a satisfaction or a dissatisfaction. So what is important now is to ensure that the satisfaction level is achieved or maintained at higher level, to ensure that the loyal customers are there and they are coming for business again and again. But to have a fully satisfied or highly satisfied customers, it is important that your experience management throughout the process, not necessarily only on the product or service at the end level, throughout the process you are able to manage that experience well, so that the customer is getting the comfort and thereby good satisfaction. So what we can really manage is the experience, and the satisfaction is an outcome. Based on the satisfaction, the business will become as that's an outcome for you, but the satisfaction is an outcome for the customer. And this framework, one disclaimer, this framework is developed based on the Baldit's Excellence Framework requirements. Not the complete requirement, it is specific requirement which is mentioned towards the customer, directly or indirectly, and also some of the experience and learning which we have gone through in the last 20 to 23 years of experience of excellence assessments using EFQM excellence model. And when you look at this framework, it puts customer experience at the nucleus, emphasizing that the significance of delivering superior experience across the value chain and to institutionalize a customer-centric culture. So all these other requirements are centered around this particular theme. In the framework, there are 7 categories, and these 7 categories are subdivided into 6 process categories and 1 result category. And each of these process category and result category are further divided into subcategory. So total, these 7 categories are subdivided into 16 subcategories. That means the maturity of your customer obsession practices are assessed based on these 16 subcategory requirements. And this is a generic framework which can be applied to all industries, Depending upon the industry, the contextual information has to be collected and used for assessment. Otherwise, this is a generic model applicable to all sectors, size, and any complexity. Adapting this will help to integrate the organization from the vision to the reality, help the organization to understand the customer better, help the organization to strengthen the customer relationship, foster the relationship. An organization which is now getting developed based on various practices where customer is centered to all. From a product-centric or a service-centric, product-centric organization or offer-centric organization, we are becoming more of a customer-centric organization. Slowly, the customer's requirements are being given priority and showing that as a culture and an obsession. And all these finally will help the organization to deliver outstanding business results. So unless all these are getting converted into a result, it may not make any sense. So it is all giving finally a better outcome. If you look at the framework, I think this has got distorted based on the size of the. It's slightly stretched, but it is more of a circle. At the center, it is customer experience, and just after the customer experience, then first circle is more of leadership activities. One is the leadership as well as the customer focused strategy. Once you have the leadership involvement and the strategy is formed, then you are developing products and services, and you have relevant supply chain management. Thereby, your customer and market results are better. At the outer circle, it is applicable to all, which is on knowledge management, information and information technology. How do you use, how do you leverage, and how do you use measurement, analysis, innovation and improvement as a culture across the organization. All these, whatever the titles, are the categories, and these categories are further divided to 16 subcategories. So the categories are leadership, customer focused strategy, products and services, supply chain management, customer and market results, knowledge management, information and information technology, measurement, analysis, innovation and improvement. Except customer and market results, all are under process category. Customer results and market results will reflect all the required results to be presented by the organization. So 1 result category and 6 process category. Each one is further divided like this. Leadership, there is one which is called vision, mission and values, how the leaders are defining it. And what is the leadership engagement? So there are 2 subcategories which is under leadership. Remember, this is primarily looking at what is essential for developing a customer-centric organization, focusing only on the customer. So most of the other leadership traits which is required to build an organization, sustainable organization, would not have spelt in this, but that is definitely required as a leadership trait, leadership activities in the organization. Second one is under the customer focused strategy. There are 2. One is how they are developing, and the second one is how they are implementing. In the third, products and services, 3.1 talks about development, 3.2 talks about the delivery, and the next one we talks about the engagement, relationship, experience and satisfaction processes. The supply chain management, the 4th category, will talk about the development of supply chain and relationship with the supply chain. In the fifth one, which is knowledge management, information technology, it talks about the organizational level knowledge and as well as data information and information technology as the whole subject. Sixth one is measurement, analysis, improvement and innovation. Again, performance measurement, analysis and improvement as one, benchmarking, creativity and innovation as another one. Based on your performance, continuously reviewing and analyzing and improving based on the big data analytics or statistics or any other data analytics is one. And beyond that, how do you benchmark, how do you understand the external, how do you learn, how do you use creativity, how do you innovate, this is another aspect of it. So all these are all process categories. And the seventh one, which is customer and market result, is result category. There are three. One is talking about all your customer focused practices. The process result has to be put under one. Then engagement, relationship, experience and satisfaction practices, the results has to be presented in two. And how all these are helping you to improve your market performance and what is the result, which we'll talk about three. So essentially, all your practices which is spelled in the categories 1 to 6, the 6 categories which you are looking at, all the results are presented in one category, which is talking about focus, customer focused process results, engagement results, satisfaction results and market performance results. So this is the coverage of 7 categories and 16 subcategories. To give you a brief, we need to look at this information in detail through the framework, but give you a brief about how the structure is. Each one there is a small definition kind of the title or the text is given, what is the criteria is dealing with, and if you look at leadership, there is a narration that what is the criteria is essentially dealing with. And under 1.1 vision, mission, values, it also talks about how senior leaders set your organization's vision, mission and values. There are some requirements given under that, titled as ABC, numbered as ABC, which are all the requirements which you, when you prepare the self-assessment report, try to understand and address it. However, you have to look at the overall requirement, not necessary you have to go point by point. When you prepare your report, self-assessment report, you can look at the large picture that senior leaders set your organization vision, mission, values and the process by which they are following, rather than looking at each A, B, C, D as a requirement and addressing separately. Essentially, it is the criteria requirement, not necessarily the bullet points or the points given under that. These are all not mandatory, depending upon the structure, depending upon the industry, this is applicable or not applicable. So accordingly you need to decide. But what you as an organization, when you're preparing the self-assessment report, have to look at is the essence of the 1.1 as the vision, mission, values, how the organization is setting up through the leaders, and what performance, what practice, what the system they have to cascade it. This is what we are looking at. If we are looking at the products and services as a category, again what it is dealing with, it is mentioned, and it talks about 3.1 products and service development, design and deploy our products and services in line with customer preferences and advancement in technologies to meet or exceed customer expectations. So this is also further divided as product requirements, design development process, technology adoptions, and also innovation. There is one more which is not listed here because it's only a sample. So like this, each of those categories and subcategories are elaborated. Coming to result is also elaborated like this. Customer focused process results including product development, delivery, people capability, innovation, knowledge management and supply chain are tracked and improved. So when you are writing or results, you present all the results with respect to this. The results can be presented for 3 years in a graphical form, in a tabular form, and you can use some innovation in that, provided it is communicating and covering all required results. Wherever required, you can use the graphs with the trends and the comparisons. Wherever required, you can use tables, some other way of representation. It's up to you. There is no specific rule that you have to present only in this one way. Depending upon what result you are presenting, you can even choose that innovative way. But essentially, that should cover the current performance levels, trends, comparisons, and thereby looking at how this organization is going to perform in the future. Another 5 minutes we will complete the scoring and the other remaining portion. Thereby we will open for the Q&A for about 15 minutes. Then we will close the session. The scoring system, if anyone is already familiar with the Baldrige criteria or EFQM assessment process, then it is, if you are familiar with the Baldrige, it is same. If it is you are familiar with the EFQM assessment, it is similar because some of the terminologies used, the scoring process is followed. Slightly it is different, but the entire scoring process is taken from the Baldrige, the scoring process. 2 dimensions, one is process, another one is results, because there are 6 process categories and 1 result categories. And the score is based on information related to each of the subcategory requirements and the scoring guidelines, keeping key organizational factors and maturity of appropriate practices as the base. Breadth of the implementation, the learning and improvement process as seen, the results, what they are obtained, all these are all some of the information which need to provide at different stages, and that determines the degree of maturity of practices and results, and thereby as a whole the practices and maturity of the customer centricity as a central theme. In the process there are 4 dimensions: approach, deployment, learning and integration, which is termed as ADLI as an acronym which even used by Baldrige. Approach is nothing but a practice or a system or a process. Deployment is nothing but an implementation. Learning is based on your own performance, also based on external learning, and sometime it can be based on benchmarking or comparison. Integration refers to how the overall scenario, overall activities of your practices and implementation, review process are aligned to the organizational requirement. Under result there are levels. Levels is nothing but the performance. Trends, based on 3 years data, what is the trend, whether it is favorable or unfavorable. Comparisons, what comparison you are doing. And integration, which is within the strategy, within the department, within the functions, how these are all integrated and how they are aligned. And for scoring process, we recommend you to go through the framework in detail, because that gives a lot of information about the process. And in the assessment, because ultimately there is a scoring, the scoring is like this. For leadership, totally it is 30 points, and there are two subcategories, which is 15 and 15. It's all equally weighted. There is no separate the weightage index. It's all equally weighted. The leadership is 30. Customer focused strategy, there is a total points 40, which is divided between 2020 implementation and the development. At the products and services, there is a small difference. Totally it is 110. On the development it is 30, delivery it is 40, and the engagement, relationship and the satisfaction again 40. So totally 110. Supply chain management 20 and 15, totally it is 35. Knowledge management 15 plus 15, it is 30. Measurement, analysis and improvement 15 and 15, that is 30. And in the result, customer and market results, focused process result 90, engagement results 90, marketplace 45. So on a 500 point scale, 225 points are for results, 275 points are there for performance. This is the same pattern which is followed for Baldrige, which is 550, 450. So since that is in 1000, this is only in 500. So the same, the weightage we are given, result is 45% and the performance is 55%. So that's the weightage we have followed. That is the validation we have done for this. And to sum it up, please, while this is only a session which can give the broad overview, we suggest you go through the brochure in detail as well as the framework in detail, and do attend the training program, which is though primarily focused on building the assessors, but it is assessor, applicant, both. We are focusing the requirements and we are delivering the important areas where the assessment team has to see, important areas where the SSC has to see. So in both cases, since it's a assessor training program, we are looking at some of you as even assessors for assessing the peer organizations. So one is the learning through the assessment, and learning through the participation of the program will enhance the overall the effectiveness of the program. So peer assessment, so we are going to have assessors from those trained assessors from various programs. So please do attend, and that will help you to understand the model requirements better, assessment process better, and thereby writing the self-assessment report in a better way. And you can also have internal programs for if you want some training awareness sessions, do write to us. We will be able to support you in those areas. But I understand that, okay, now it could be a too short a time between now and the final report. But however, whatever we can do, we can look at as an opportunity. And participating in the assessment workshop, there are multiple benefits. You will definitely understand the requirements in detail, and there will be a lot of learning because it's an open, a lot of discussions will be there, peer learning will be there, and also you will become the voice of customer obsession culture within the organization as well as within the industry. Thereby you are supporting a national cause. That's all from the intro perspective. To sum it up, there are 3 levels of recognition: customer engagement, centricity and obsession. Between 200 and 299 on a 500 point scale, you will be eligible for engagement recognition. 300 plus, you are eligible for either the customer centricity, which is definitely guaranteed, and subject to you meeting the criteria which is specified for declaring as an award winner, as eligible to be a contender for the award. Then if you are meeting those requirements, you will be considered for the award, and the jury will decide based on what is the merit on declaring the award, and depending upon the jury's view, it can be even multiple winners. Otherwise, there will be 4 award winners. Possible combinations are 1 from service sector, 1 from manufacturing sector on the large, 1 from service sector, 1 from manufacturing sector on small and medium business. The award is based on the CIIQ framework, which is derived based on the various requirements of Baldrig's framework. The report will be going through a macro assessment, screening assessment. If 275 and above you are scoring in the macro assessment, you will be eligible for on-site assessment. If you are below the 275 cutoff score, then you will be getting the recognition based on what is the outcome of document-based assessment. Assessment will be for normally 2 days, but it can be 1 day. Primarily, if you look at a small and medium business organization, it can be 3 days if you are a very large organization with multiple units to be visited, multiple customers to be visited, customer channels to be visited. And the number of assessors, the assessment days, all will be decided based on the scope, and that will be communicated when we are announcing the assessment team. So assessment will be done. There will be a schedule will be there, which will be shared, and that we will have once your report is ready. Then we will have one more session on what is the process of assessment, how the interactions will happen. We will have one more session to understand that better, and the interaction will be there for 2 days, and there will be a visit to the customers and different channels connected to the entire value chain. And based on the interactions, the assessment team will decide what is the maturity seen based on 6 process categories and 1 result category requirements, and using the scoring system. So this is the essence of the model and the award program. So now we will quickly take some questions if you have anything. And meanwhile, I will also look at any questions. Already it is there, and then we will take up the common questions. And in case if any of those questions are not answered now, certainly we will have an opportunity to either through mail or through call, we can definitely look at that. How do we clear those points?